Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jenna. I'm the content marketer here at BEMO, and I'll just kind of be hosting things today. Today's webinar is focused around our Silver Cybersecurity package. We've got some slides to just go through that, and then we will be having a little Q&A at the end. Please save your questions as they come up. Until then, if you think you might forget them, feel free to just drop them in the chat as they come up, and we can go through them together at the end of the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you your speakers for the day. We've got Suzanne Sims on the call and Siddharth Nambiar. Suzanne Sims is our modern work evangelist at BEMO. She holds Microsoft certifications in MS 900, MS 700, and is currently working towards the MS 100. Susie was actually a BEMO customer. Prior to joining the BEMO team, she was an IT director of a public school, and she successfully shifted their on-premise infrastructure to the Microsoft cloud, which paved the way for a very successful distance learning environment during COVID. Finding technology solutions to solve business problems is her forte. Her professional experiences have made her a jack of all trades, from positions in customer support, network administration, software testing, and technical training, to managing an IT company on the Wind River Reservation. She's experienced a multitude of roles and is happy to be here today to lend her expertise. Siddharth Nambiar is our Customer Success Associate at BEMO. He's an accomplished marketing professional with a diverse background in the industry. With experience as a pricing analyst at Amazon, marketing intern at a startup, and an account manager at a marketing agency, he has gained a wide variety of experiences in strategic pricing, digital marketing, and client relationship management. Passionate about the always changing IT industry, Sid transitioned to his current position at BEMO, where he combines his marketing skills with his passion for helping customers achieve their goals. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Susie get us started today.
Thank you, Jenna, and happy June 1st, everyone. We know the topic of cybersecurity can be a bit boring and deeply technical. We'll try not to get too technical, but technical enough where you get a little understanding of our offerings. We thought we'd start out with an analogy. Hopefully everybody's seen the movie Home Alone. It's a classic. And we had a young boy, Kevin, who was left home alone, and he had to defend his home from two burglars while his family was away for Christmas. This movie can be seen as an analogy for defending your business data from cyber attacks, especially when you aren't prepared and you aren't protected. This kid got a plan, and he did a great job of playing defense. And then he had to switch to offense when the burglars became relentless. The point is, right, he identified all the risks. You can see that on his plan, all the crazy risks, and planned for every scenario, right? He had a defense. And he even planned for after the attackers got in the front door, right? Not just before, after what's going to happen. And maybe you put security on the back burner. It's easy to do. And we definitely understand why. But our goal today is to show you why it's time to adopt a security-first mindset, like our boy Kevin here had. Educate you about the essential protections you need to get started, and show you how BEMO's cyber security plan addresses those protections as a great entrance point. Why do SMBs need to adopt a security-first mindset? Like the movie, your business has to protect your data. Just like the days of leaving kids home alone with instructions not to answer the door and call the neighbor if something goes wrong, that doesn't exist anymore. You can't do that anymore. In comparison, you really can't any longer just have basic email protection to keep intruders out. And you can't just have basic antivirus software on your computers to catch them when they get in. You have to have a comprehensive plan. AI is here to stay. And I'm sure you've seen it on the news, artificial intelligence. And guess what? The attackers are on it, and they're going to be using it. You need to build a defense against that. I'm sure you've heard about breach costs, right? You know, oh, if you have a breach, it'll cost you, the average cost, $117,000, right? But there's more than just the cost to remediate, right? And get back on your feet. There's legal costs, right? There's loss of business during that time because your employees can't use their software. And over 60% of SMBs couldn't operate if they were hit by ransomware. You have to remember that. It could put you out of business. If it doesn't put you out of business and you survive, there's a loss of customer trust and partners. Then you have to regain their trust, right? And depending on what business you're in, there's compliance and regulation, that you've got to address. Cybersecurity insurance, if you want to buy cybersecurity insurance, you have to prove that you have security controls in place. And then modern businesses require a holistic approach to security to effectively scale. If you're planning on growing, which we hope you are, that's why you're in business, you definitely need to get security in place to grow with you. And I was just telling everyone yesterday, I just got a letter in the mail from a college that I went to, and it's sitting here on my desk. What, 15 years ago, I went to the college. They've been breached, and they sent out a letter that social security numbers and personally identifiable information has leaked, and they have to pay for all the letters that go out, the identity service, free identity service. There's more costs involved than you may think. And then finally, why are attackers targeting SMBs? I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions that we see. You think, oh, it's in the news, but they're only after the big fish and they're only after the government, right? But not necessarily true. Low risk, high reward is the number one reason here, I would say, as no risk of getting caught, right? If you're going to plan to rob a bank, you might want to pick the small banks, right? Because they probably don't have good surveillance. You can get away with it, right? That's one of the reasons. Supply chain attack, right? You are a vendor for somebody, or you're a partner that is a larger company. They want to get to them, right? What better way than to get through you first, right? Go through the smaller airport that might not have the security and then connect to the big airport. And then a lack of modern security strategy. We'll talk about what a modern security strategy looks like, but attackers know that small businesses have constraints, right? And they haven't gotten to the point in their maturity where they have a modern security strategy. And then outdated legacy software applications and vulnerabilities, right? That's a surface area. They can get in that way. You've invested in software and you can't afford to upgrade it or maintain it, leaving you vulnerable. Okay. So we get the struggle. And I'm sure everybody can relate to this. Jenna's going to throw out a poll there. I'm guessing what everybody's going to say, but what's the biggest challenge you're facing as far as addressing cybersecurity needs for your business? We have three areas. We have time, money, and skill, right? And that should pretty much sum it up, but maybe we've missed an area. Ooh, your poll's on top of my slide. Okay. But that's okay. Time, you're focused on your core business, right? You don't have time to focus on security, monitoring and response, having a training program for your employees to make them aware, and keeping up with all the latest security trends. Money, that's a no-brainer, trying to find money. There's a perception that cybersecurity is unaffordable. It's a luxury. And we'll just pay for the breach if it happens. We'll pay for the attack when it occurs. And this can leave you with gaping holes in your security. And then we have skill, right? There's a shortage of security professionals right now. We know it. You might have someone, the jack of all trades, like I am, where they're a generalist, right? They know a little about everything, but their focus isn't security. And again, it goes back to money. You can't afford that person. All right. Are you getting any results? Nobody wants to poll.
Like we got a few. Most are for all of the above, and then we got a couple for money and skill too.
Definitely money. Well, we'll talk about money. Okay. Our solution to those challenges, time, right? We'll alleviate that time constraint by taking on those duties or assisting you, be an extension of your security department. We focus on security while you focus on your business. We monitor and update. We provide support. We have a formal support desk, and we offer solutions for employee awareness. We do have the know before that we use actually internally, where you do phishing campaigns on your employees to train them like, it's like the real life, it's happening. They think it's happening and it's actually you. And then you can monitor those results and then automatically assign training. And Sid's on the call if you have any questions about it. It's a pretty reasonable solution pricing wise. But if you don't have something like that in place, it's a good idea to get it in place. Security budget. All right. This is the hard one. You need to establish a security budget, right? Security shouldn't be an afterthought. Security needs to be in the budget, and it needs to be part of the IT budget. Moving forward, I've seen some statistics, but they were saying about 20% of your IT budget should be security. Again, supplement your existing IT team by using BEMO security team. When you're going to pay a predictable monthly cost, when you're budgeting, it's a predictable cost. And then finally, skill. BEMO is SOC 2 compliant, which is very difficult compliancy to get to. We have certified Microsoft security experts handle your security implementation, the maintenance and monitoring, and support. We're talking about challenges. Organizations find themselves responsible for protecting an overlapping web of technologies. And trust me, my last job was at a school, and that was a huge web of technologies, and many of which you don't own outright, right? They're hosted. With so many devices, different user groups, and so much corporate data, the traditional perimeter-based security models simply can't keep up with the sophistication of today's threats, right? Can't just have that everybody's safe on the inside firewall and we protect ourselves from the outside. You need visibility and controls to secure this mobile environment we're in today. And you can't believe that everything behind the corporate firewall is safe as well. There's insider risk. Can't trust anyone anymore. And we'll go into zero trust. You need a modern security model that better adapts to the reality of the world we live in today. And I don't have my cartoon yet. I should have put my cartoon first, but that's the zero trust model. And, it's not just a buzzword. If you haven't heard about it, look into it. We have a blog that just really simplifies zero trust that she'll send out a link in the chat. But it's not just a buzzword, right? It's a framework you need to follow. You need to work towards it, just like your business model. And basically, I'm not going to get deep into it, but it's trust no one and verify everything, right? Be skeptical. First is verify explicitly. Now, don't let anybody connect to your data or anything connect to your data without verifying them. Then once they are in, right, use least privileged access. Don't let them just roam around and get to whatever they want, right? And then assume breach. You should always be planning like Kevin and Home Alone. Assume they're going to get in and be ready for it, right? And you should be monitoring. Okay, we know this model is overwhelming, right? And we're here to help you with that, moving towards it. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and there's no silver bullet to entirely secure your organization. It would be nice if we can say, we have the silver bullet and boom, we apply it and you're done. And you don't have to think about it anymore. Those days are over. The world is different, right? You have to be on constant, continual identifying threats and addressing them. Our goal is to gradually move you. We have different plans according to your needs, because you might not have all these needs. It depends on your business setup and how far along you are in the process. Here's my cartoon. Trust no one, verify everything, right? This is an example. We've implemented zero trust. I don't believe you. Exactly, right? Be skeptical. You paid for Microsoft 365 licensing, right? You're just like, I have my tenant, I pay for licensing, I have business, and all the security is built in, right? That's good enough. It's a great start, but it's your responsibility to configure it correctly, monitor it, and respond to threats, keep up to date with new threats, identify your vulnerabilities. As you grow, you're going to have different assets you need to protect, identify your vulnerabilities, and adjust your protections accordingly, okay? This is our BEMO framework that I won't go into great depth on, but you can review that. But we take care, and with the Silver package specifically, the protections and the detect and respond go with your email, corporate device, just corporate device, and identity security. Okay. Let's talk about what's happening in the world today and why you need to start thinking about it if you haven't, moving beyond just email protection, okay? Cybercrime as a service, or ransomware as a service, these are like real businesses now. They actually have security experts on staff, and their goal is to get your data or get your credentials, sell the data or the credentials, or install ransomware, encrypt your data so you can't get to it anymore, and then, oh, we'll unencrypt it if you give us the money. That's basically sums it up, right? I saw this blog on the city of Dallas that got attacked by a very sophisticated ransomware attack. And this was the ransom notes. I don't know if you can see it with its full screen, but it printed out on their printers. They got in through an email, but it wasn't an email with a link or a malware attachment. It was an email about like, hey, call us, your food service. They had studied them. People get food delivered to them. Your food service subscription is going to expire and you need to call this number. And then somehow through that, they had an employee install software. Now they're in, right? The email protection would not have been enough here. Anyway, they use a combination of these techniques, and I won't go into them for the sake of time, but you can look them up. But these are some of the things that are going on today. But they use a combination of social engineering, right? They convinced people it was real. They got past the phishing. They sent an email, but they got past the filters because it was a real email from a real domain, and they didn't have any malicious attachments in it. And they impersonated someone. And ultimately, they had someone install the malware directly, right? They didn't click on a link. They didn't click on an attachment. And then ultimately, ransomware. I just laugh because they had some humor in this note, and they're like, most likely what happened, oh, this came out on their printers. Once they got on their network, they had control of everything, and they printed this on all their printers. Most likely what happened was that you decided to have some money, save money on security. And as a result, your critical data was not only encrypted, but was copied to the dark web and published online. Anyway, roll out of that one. That was just a great scenario. Let's talk about going back to we're just on our Home Alone theme, right? With a zero trust approach, we assume breach, right? That was one of the key points. We assume breach. We assume somebody's going to get past the locks, but are we prepared for it? In the house scenario, you could compare, let's say you had a perimeter fence around this, right? That's your email security. It helps you filter out unwanted and potentially malicious messages from reaching your inbox. just like a fence helps you keep out intruders and animals from your property. But knowing that you have that perimeter fence around your property, would you actually leave your front door unlocked if you just had fencing? This is coming from the person that lives out in the middle of nowhere and leaves her door unlocked, but we won't go there. What about the delivery guy, right? He has to get to the front door. He gets through the fence, right? And you allow him through the fencing. But if you have your front door unlocked, would you really want him just roaming around in your house? No, he doesn't need to get in there. Okay. Identity security is like that lock on your front door. And when you talk about MFA, there's different levels of locks that you can have. Of course, someone could steal, if you just have a key, right? Somebody could steal that key, right? Then it's like stealing your credentials. Or somebody could impersonate someone, repairman, and you let them in, right? Are you prepared for that once they get in? Are you doing monitoring and surveillance? Do you have an alarm system? Device security is like that alarm system in your house. It helps you monitor and protect your devices from being compromised or stolen, just like an alarm system helps you detect and deter theft. Device security can be achieved by using tools such as endpoint protection, right? Protect against the threats, managing devices, know what you got in the building, and device encryption, where the data is encrypted on the hard drives. Are you able to limit the damage once they've entered? That's the question. Are you monitoring? And do you get notified if you're not there, right? Good questions. So here's how we can help you get started to securing your business beyond that email fence, your perimeter fence. Sober's our most popular plan because it provides the most bang for your buck to help you eliminate a high percentage of risk of breach. The high percentage comes from identity and corporate device, and those are the areas that we cover. And email, of course. But includes not only advanced email security, but identity and corporate device, like I said, monitoring with email alerts. You get alerted if something is detected, and we sound the alarm if something's suspicious. Since moving towards a zero trust model is a journey, as you mature in your security posture and your business grows or your needs change, you can adjust this plan to suit your business security strategy. And we have plans that go beyond this. We have gold, diamond, and soon to be. And I'm not going to go into deep detail about this, but this just gives you an idea of some of the protections we deploy in these areas. And I say some because there's a lot of protections that would take a couple pages, but I have a detailed list if you're interested in seeing the details, or if you want to set up a meeting and discuss those with a sales rep, then they'd be prepared to discuss those with you. We follow current best practices and we configure it right the first time. That's important. Misconfigurations can lead to holes in your security, and that's like leaving a window open. I have to say, again, I came from that jack of all trades and I tried to do all of it myself, reading all the articles. And ultimately, when I came to work for BEMO, I was doing pretty good, but I was like, wow, I missed a lot of areas, which definitely left the school vulnerable. Anyway, just saying, these things are really important to get configured right the first time. Let's introduce you to the people to get some confidence in their abilities and some of our reviews. But this is our implementation team, and it all starts with deploying the protections for your email, identity, and device, and verify that they're working, but minimize user impact because time's important to you. And user acceptance is important. When you add security, you don't want your employees stressing out, and it's making it more difficult. Our approach is to make it simple for you and simple for your employees. Here are some of the BEMO experts involved in deploying the security packages, and several of these guys are ex-Microsoft and gals and hold numerous Microsoft certifications. And we'll just go into a bit more detail of the security features that they will be setting up in the security package. Email security, basically the point I want to get across here, it's more than just basic Exchange Online protection, okay? We go beyond those into advanced protections that cover sender intelligence. So when we talked about impersonation, that's an extra protection that's not built into Exchange Online protection. Post-delivery protections for email, that's safe links, safe attachments. If something does make it through, there's another layer of protection. When it tries to detonate, it checks it again. Off is message encryption. If you need to definitely know that the intended recipients that you sent the email to are the only ones that can view it, then you need to put encryption in place. And then user awareness features like report messages button for your users. If they think something made it through and it's phishing, we put a button in there. And external email warning, which is just to make your users aware. And mailbox and auditing forwarding rules. Security, yeah. You'll be like, I wish you would have let him talk the whole time. Identity security, right? Ensure that only your employees are accessing company resources, devices, and files, right? It's the number one defense that you can put in place, right? Stolen credentials are the easiest entry and the laziest entry for bad actors, right? You got their credentials, you're in. You don't have to work so hard with all the other stuff. The majority of our BEMO customers purchase it because of the identity security.
Yes.
Sid has a story here.
This is where I wanted to add the story. We had this one customer. They were a small organization with just, I think, 13 to 14 employees, and they all had business licenses. The business licenses come with some basic security features. Since they had the business license, they thought, okay, we are fully secure now and nothing can happen to us. I think a few months later, they reached out to us saying that some people from Nigeria or some part of Africa logged into their tenant, got into their tenant. They don't know how. And the best part was they even had MFA, multi-factor authentication enabled, and they still let them go through. And that is somewhere, they did not know what they were doing. And then they came to us saying that, hey, we're just a company of 12 to 13 employees. Why would somebody want to attack us? And we had the business license with the security features. And yeah, we thought we are fully secured. Our organization is completely secured. And that's when we had to explain, these are just the basic security features, but with our packages, you have additional features that would completely secure. And yeah, that was one good story, not for them, but us to.
It's not good. I was going to say that's not
Yeah.
good for them, but
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm glad we could help them. And that's kind of what the point we're trying to get across here is like just having software in place is not enough, right? You have to have it configured properly, right? And you just brought across several key points here, right? The employee awareness thing. Well, they had MFA.
Yeah.
They had Authenticator on their phone, but they're getting or SMS pushes or whatever. But the point is, someone human error. Like the MFA didn't work because the employee was like probably had fatigue from MFA and just like, oh, okay. Even though they weren't logging in, they just hit yes, right?
Yeah.
Multiple things going on there. And they weren't monitoring, right? There wasn't monitoring in place. Great. Okay. And then additionally, that brings on this one point here, conditional access. That's one of those when we say we put additional protections in place that don't come out of the box. We set up conditional access for conditional access is where if someone is trying to connect to your data, it's like, oh, only if you meet these requirements will we let you. And the same goes for endpoints. An endpoint, only if it meets this requirement do we let it connect. In this case, we set up conditional access policies for anyone located out of the US, right? If you're a US based company and your people aren't traveling outside the US, we like set up that policy. It's like, ooh, red flag, you're signing in from somewhere else, right? And on that note, when we talk a little bit about identity, there's risky sign-ins and we monitor for that, right? The software itself can detect where it's like, oh, you just logged in from New York. Now, all of a sudden, you're logging in from Nigeria like 5 minutes later. That's not possible, right? But if you're not looking at those alerts, you wouldn't know. So that's our job. Okay. And then I just discussed all this. I'm not really going to go into depth on it, but with identity, obviously, identity is the control plane for zero trust, right? You've got to have it, that strong authentication. And just to let you know, like some of the services we too can provide are passwordless technology, right? That's where it's going, where you don't have to worry about credential or passwords being stored and stolen because they're using passwordless. And then we talked about the conditional access, right? Based on risk or context like location, risky sign-on, and then detecting and remediating. Okay. And we talked about, we don't want security to make it hard on our users, right? Sometimes we avoid doing it because we know it's going to be a pain and they won't be able to get their work done, right? And they're going to complain. Anyway, what I said, we do passwordless because I've set these up and it can be kind of complicated, but single sign-on is a fantastic thing. Once you've set up a strong MFA, then you can use those credentials to sign into other applications, third-party applications. And with the Silver package, we will do that setup for you for up to 3 applications as part of the package. And then self-service management, resetting passwords, stuff like that. We set that up for you in a company branded application portal where the applications that you trust and want your employees to have are set up for them to use. Okay, last one. And Sid gets to talk again. Device security, right? These are the products that when we say it comes with it, right? I bought the software, I have the licenses, it comes with it. Yeah, you have Intune and Defender for Endpoint or Defender for Business, depending on your licenses. But just to understand the difference, part of Zero Trust, you have to be able to identify and manage your assets, right? The management part of it, the MDM, compliance policy, enforcing restrictions, that's all done through Intune. The Defender part is defending those endpoints, right? That's where you have your antivirus protection and then signals coming back, right? You have to have those endpoints telling you there's a problem, right? They have to send signals, right? And then that's where automated investigation and remediation come in. A signal comes in, then what happens with it, right? Or does it just sit there and nobody's looking at it and didn't matter anyway? Yeah. And then tracking vulnerabilities. I'm talking off the slides. Let me make sure I said everything that I wanted to. Oh, this is important. If you've ever been into the Intune portal, it's like overwhelming, right? And again, that's part of it. We'll help you onboard the devices into Intune. And it's pretty powerful. And then we'll set up all those policies that get pushed out, including business applications. The Office apps will push those out to devices as part of the Intune. And then that goes across Intune. We can manage Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android, and virtual desktops and Windows 365. Okay, back to Kevin. Hopefully now you can see that just installing security and software isn't enough in your battle. You have a great foundation with the Microsoft security tools, but that's like buying that deluxe home security system. And it's no good unless you know how to configure it, how to update it, and how to operate it, right? And it's no good if your household members can't effectively get in and out of the house. And similarly, security protections can frustrate employees trying to get work done. Finally, if your household members don't understand things like don't open the door to strangers, that can make your security system less effective. Similarly, when we talked about a security mindset earlier, it's important to work towards user awareness, not just your IT department having a security mindset or the high level executives. Everyone in the company needs to have a security mindset. It's important to have phishing simulations and training for employees. Oh, right. I'm going to hand it off to Sid. And
Thank you, Susie. Finally, you let me speak. Once our implementation team gets you set up, then what? Well, you will have these teams backing you up. This is our customer success team, which I'm a part of. This is our technical support team on your right, and then we have our maintenance and monitoring team. Let's jump a little more into what these guys do in specific. Our monitoring and maintenance team, they keep monitoring constantly for any email threads or any device threads, or even some risky sign-ins. Like I just gave an example about the customer who got signed in through Nigeria. We would alert you guys with an email, and this is done by our maintenance and monitoring team. You will have your customer success manager sit down with you on a quarterly basis just to show how your security health looks like, what was better in your previous quarter, what could have gone better, and you can set your goals for the next quarter. And yeah, your CSM would help you with all that. Our maintenance and monitoring team would help you align, or they actually set up some of the Windows update policy for your operating systems and Office app to just ensure that you're getting all the latest security updates that Microsoft recommend. Your dedicated customer success manager, he or she will actually help you align and evolve your security with where you are at your zero trust journey. They will even work with you to provide solutions to concerns and changes in your business needs. Then you will have a support desk with ticketing system. This is a web-based ticketing system. This is the portal where you will be reaching out to a customer support team in case of any issues and any problems, and our customer support team would reach out to you or get back to you through this portal. Respond to emerging threats, new features. What do we mean by this? Yeah. Like Susie said, we handle the complicated stuff. And like she mentioned about the time factor, keeping up with all these changes and the new threads, it's close to impossible. This is where BEMO comes in place, and we would help you. Microsoft has a roadmap that we closely monitor, review with the team, which customers are getting impacted, and take a course of action that involves customer notification, recommendations, and support. One of the recent examples, what I wanted to share was, I don't know if you guys have heard about World Typhoon. Recently, Microsoft had uncovered that a Chinese state-sponsored actor, World Typhoon, is using stealth techniques to target US critical infrastructure and dwell in compromised environment. This campaign basically targets companies that are in the communication, manufacturing, and government industries. How did BMO react to this? Our maintenance and monitoring team reviewed the Microsoft recommendations. We went into action to assess the security configuration of our customers and quickly communicated the changes that were required to just prevent this new threat from infiltrating to their tenants. We always try to stay one step ahead of all these, but yeah, the attackers always find new ways to reach first. Then comes, yeah, your journey on if you decide to go with the Silver Security package, this is how the journey will look like. Once you've given us a verbal commit, your CSM would get back to you with a SOW, a statement of work, which defines the services that we will be providing. Once you have that signed and you've made the payment for the project, you will have a project manager and an implementation engineer reach out to you in the next 48 hours. But before this, we would ensure that you have all the licenses that are required for this project as well. Once you have your project manager and the implementation engineer reach out to you, they will schedule a kickoff call. The main goal of this call is going to be, to see the timeline and the time frame of implementing all these security features. Deploying it will take a certain set of time. Generally, the email security and the identity security is done a little quickly compared to the device security, because for the device security, we would require some inputs from your end regarding the number of users and some information regarding those devices. It all depends on how we have the communication flowing. The faster it is, the better we get it implemented. And then after all these security features are implemented, you will have a ticket that will be open post implementation. This would be mainly for if you're facing any issues post the implementation, our customer support team would be there to help you assist and get things sorted initially. And yeah, these are just some of the other things what the support team, the customer success team, and the monitoring and maintenance team do. I just explained this in the previous slide. Next. Okay, this is the pricing map that nobody likes to see, but yeah. Our basic package is the bronze package, which mainly includes the email security, which costs, I think, around $9 per user monthly. And the silver package costs around $25 per user monthly. And if you have no protection, probably you might end up paying 117K as a breach cost. Yeah.
And then I was just going to add that, if you are interested and you're discussing this with a salesperson, if you have frontline workers and you have frontline worker licensing, we do have a Silver for Frontline offering that is reasonably priced, as the frontline licenses are as well. Don't forget to ask about that.
Oh, getting back to Susie's favorite Home Alone movie. On your left is your business with the potential attackers. And with our Silver Security package, you can tackle and fight these attackers. And back to you, Jenna. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Susie and Sid, for the great presentation. Laura is going to drop a link in the chat. If you're ready to take your security to the next level, or you're simply just interested in chatting a little bit more about Silver, feel free to scan the QR code or use that link to book a meeting with Sid. Next up, we're going to open it up to you all for some Q&A. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. I know we have one that we'll address right away, but if any others come up, feel free to just drop them. I'll go ahead and read Elizabeth's question out loud, just so we're all on the same page. She asked, how do we prevent from email impersonation? Someone used my email registered with a bunch of real organizations, such as colleges, realtors, doctor's office, and others.
Okay. Actually, maybe I didn't read the question. Well, impersonation is they register a domain, the email, they're impersonating you. They use your name. It's kind of like spoofing, but it is a valid email address. It's just not your particular one. You can protect it from coming in. Now, the fact that someone, I guess the question would be here, are they actually, hopefully they're not actually using your real email address, then that's beyond impersonation. They got into your account. If it's your real email and they're sending messages out. But if the messages are coming in, generally impersonation happens. I've seen it happen. And I actually had to, yeah, you need to talk to us. Yeah. That means they have your credentials. That's a greater issue. Yeah. Greater issue. Impersonation is more, when we talk about impersonation, it's, oh, okay. That's good. Yeah. So it's recent twice now. Okay. Which that does make you worry that the fact that they are getting your credentials. You may want to we'll have to talk about your specific situation separately, just because we don't want to divulge too much here, and what licensing you have and such. Back to impersonation coming in, that is more of a where they're getting through the email protection because they have a valid domain. It looks like yours, and they're using your name. For example, they're going to pick like the CEO of a company, right? Because the employees are going to listen to the CEO. The CEO sends something to finance. It's not really the CEO. They impersonated it. It looks almost like your email address. It got through and they told them, hey, I'm on vacation, because they're smart enough to know the person's on vacation because they've been following them on Facebook. I'm on vacation and you need to take care of this invoice right away, and you need to transfer the funds into this account. And it's very convincing. It is personalized, and it made it through the filter. That's the impersonation. They're going to try to impersonate high-level people in the company to convince people to do things like that. The protection's in Defender for Office 365, and it has to be set up on specific users or specific domains. And that's just kind of an extra level of protection on the email. Yeah.
Thanks, Susie.
Adam's posted something. Sorry, got way too in depth on that one.
I posted, it's like manage known devices. In Microsoft 365, you can go manage all of your known devices that you're signed into and clear out any ones you don't recognize. I definitely recommend doing that. Reset your password. You could look at aliases. If you're not married to the alias that you currently have, you can look at changing that. It's as simple as going into the admin center and changing the alias, and then they don't know what your new email address is. It's kind of hard to prevent those things. They shouldn't be able to actually get in and go create an account. If I knew like your email address and I just went and I go to try to create an account, it's going to try to send a verification to that email address. And as long as they don't have your account credentials, they'll never get that verification. They shouldn't be able to create accounts using your email address.
Yeah. And you should have, if you have MFA set up, that definitely should help. I'm not sure if you have MFA or it's just a weaker form of it. Be curious to know. Any other questions?
One that we tend to get a lot is around licensing and what kind of licensing you need when you get Silver. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Go for it, Adam.
Yeah, I guess when we think of licensing, especially in the small business world, really when we're talking about security, we're talking about Microsoft 365 Business. Microsoft Business Standard and Business Basic, those are the options that allow you for, just like Susie was saying, the very base levels where it just doesn't have any of these encryption policies, none of that stuff set up. We're talking at least business. And then the companies that are really looking at compliance and really securing everything end to end are looking at Microsoft 365 E5 for advanced features like auditing privileges.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. Reach out if you have any questions or want to talk more about Silver. But thanks for attending, and we hope to talk to you soon.